What is up? Welcome to episode 14 of Etsy Jam. In this episode, Rachel joins us from IndigoTangerine, where she sells handmade, personalized burlap and linen bags. She also has a shop named IndigoPress, where she sells some really cool printables and planners. She shares her fantastic story of starting a shop during Etsy's infancy, what happened to it, and how, in her current shop, she's managed to gain 7 times more sales than she had in May of this year. Join us for some great tips from Rachel in this episode of Etsy Jam. Welcome, everyone, to episode 14 of Etsy Jam. Today we have a special guest. We have Rachel from IndigoTangerine and IndigoPress, which I have to say is a pretty fantastic shop name. I like IndigoTangerine. That's awesome. I feel like it's like 2 crayons like melted together.
Yeah.
I like it.
However you interpret it to be.
It's cool. It's a good visual
Great.
for me anyway.
Yeah.
But Rachel's got a really cool story here. She has a really cool backstory. These aren't her first shops. When she first started selling on Etsy back in 2008, it was under a different shop name. Do you want to give us a little bit of a peek into your story?
Sure. Yeah. So back in 2008, I had just, hold on to your seats. I had just had my 5th boy. So I have 5 boys. A little bit of a precursor there, but yeah, so I had another little baby at home, and for some reason, I guess I needed more to do. And so I started, sewing bags, because there's obviously a huge demand for bags when you have 5 kids, and they were all, 6 and under. So I was making a lot of bags. I basically taught myself how to sew, and just got to the point where one day I woke up and I was like, this is just a lot of bags. I gotta figure out how to sustain this habit, but I really love creating. So I just started literally hanging my bags in my front yard from a tree and taking pictures and sending them to friends, and people started buying them, which was awesome.
Yeah.
But I figured out really quickly, really early on, that I really didn't want to depend on my community, my local friends. I loved them for buying my goods, but I just kind of felt like I really want to branch outside of this. How do I get outside of this? And then, I just remember, I still can't remember exactly how or when that I stumbled upon Etsy, but that would have been when it was really new. I mean, I don't remember if is it 2006 or 2007, that Etsy started? I don't know. Does anybody know? It was pretty early on. Yeah.
I would say 5 or 6.
Yeah.
6, yeah. It was the dawn of Etsy time, really. So people weren't talking about it. I mean, I didn't have any friends that were on it. I didn't know anything about it. But it just made sense. It just clicked. Like, this is the place. This is the way to sell my handmade stuff. So I posted and I listed a few of my bags on there just to kind of see how it went. Took me about 6 months to get my first sale, and it was really like, I'll never forget that moment. Just to sell your first product to someone who's not a friend, who doesn't have some emotional connection or some, guilt trip, reason into buying your stuff. It's like, if they bought it, it's because they must really like it, you know? And so it was sort of almost addicting. At that point, I'll never forget that. I was ready to give up. 6 months was a long time to wait. I have no idea really, I think now it's a much more active market, and I know you can get going a lot sooner than that. And I'm sure there were things I could have been doing differently, but anyway, it just kind of went from there. I found a niche real quickly with a material called oilcloth. It's a vinyl fabric. Cause I realized really early on that, I'm losing my earbuds here, that, it was really success on Etsy. You really had to find a niche. Even at that time, you did a search for bags, and you just got pages and pages of results. It was just so hard to get noticed. But I learned pretty quickly people really like oilcloth, and that was a really good, strong keyword in terms of things people were searching for. So I quickly shifted into oilcloth, and then, it really took off from there. I always had it as a side hustle. Obviously I was pretty busy at home, but I would, have busier seasons, and I'd bring in people to help me. And pretty early on, I brought in, a young woman who came on, named Becky. And she started working with me so she was probably working with me for about 6 or 7 years when I had I guess they say, when you're an entrepreneur, it's almost like a sickness. You just always need to start something new. And I was just ready to start something new. And so I had this vision for IndigoTangerine, but I realized quickly I couldn't balance it both and without stretching myself too thin. So it just kind of worked out well. My assistant bought it from me. The first store is RBT Bags, and it's still going. She runs it. She knew it, really well inside and out. She'd been working with me on it for so long, and I can't think of anyone better to run it. And so she still does. And then I went and I launched IndigoTangerine initially. So that is my line of burlap primarily and some linen personalized products. And I started that the same month that I sold RBT Bags, launched IndigoTangerine. And then, we just kind of go from there. It was about a year ago. And it's doing great.
That's awesome.
So,
that's awesome.
Still as happy with Etsy as I've ever been. Just don't know where I'd be without it. None of it would be possible without Etsy. It's been a great place for me.
What are some of the changes you've seen over the years from 2000? Oh, I also looked it up real quick. June 18th, 2005 is when Etsy was founded.
Yeah.
So if you started in 2008, you were pretty early on. I mean, in its 11-year life right now, you were right there in its infancy, its childhood years. So as it's been growing up, what types of changes have you seen?
I feel like I really think it's the things that they've improved upon the most are the efficiencies, the ways that they help us as Etsy sellers be more efficient. When we started, they were so hardcore, trying to eliminate any kind of mass production, any mass produce sellers that they really made it difficult. Like you couldn't just copy a listing. Like when I first started, you couldn't just, take a listing and copy it. You literally had to start every single listing from scratch. And, that made sense, for what they were trying to do, but it really made, there were things like that about it that really made it difficult to run a handmade business, which already in and of itself is not as efficient as, Amazon and our competitors, and it felt like it made it harder. So over the years, I'm sure there's for better and for worse that they've worked on, things like that, the things that help us be more efficient, that have helped me be able to grow as a business better than I originally would have been. Back in 2008, I still remember we would have to, we'd handwrite all our labels. I mean, we couldn't, first of all, we took all our payments on PayPal, which was crazy to think about now because it hasn't even been that long since Etsy set up their own, payment processing options. But, so then we were going back and forth between two websites, to track our orders, which was a nightmare. But then we were also handwriting all our labels. Eventually PayPal, we had the option to scale and use PayPal to print out our shipping labels. And then, now you can hardly even compare what that would have been like. Kind of crazy to think about handwriting labels and, maybe some people still do it, but I don't. If I can help it, I don't. So I don't know. Yeah, those are a few of the things. Just to be able to streamline a little bit. Oh, and being able to, have Etsy shop help. I remember in my early days when I was bringing on help, I was kind of incognito about it. Like it was frowned upon. Etsy was really clear. They wanted you to absolutely make everything. So I was trying to do that as much as I could. I would get wholesale orders and I'd bring in help. So I bring it in where I could, but it made it really hard to really be efficient when you had all those limitations. And now, I think it makes a lot of sense that they give us options that allow us to scale our business better, but we're still encouraged to be really transparent about it. And, with transparency comes trust. And so I think, even when I can tell my customers, I might not have handmade every single little, detail here myself, but here are the other people that are helping me do this. And we're all real people and we're all, we all have, real people with real lives who benefit from your purchase. And
yeah, it's not some factory full of machines.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. And I think Etsy's really set it up, come a long way in terms of helping us kind of showcase that in our shops, especially with their most recent changes.
Yeah.
With their about section and in the video, which I haven't done yet, but I'm excited to add a video. I have some ideas churning. But yeah, they've given us lots of ways to showcase that, and that's come a long way too.
It's a really interesting set of things that they're trying to do, or they were trying to do, and you guys still are. You try to nurture the handmade seller and, keep the mass production out and everything, like you said, with those different rules. And then, once it starts going well, and once they have a nice marketplace with demand and buyers, it's all of a sudden like, well, you know what? When you're handwriting labels, when you can't, when you read real incognito about help and stuff like that,
right?
All those things. It's like, okay, well, now we have to help these sellers, be able to sell and keep up with the demand. Like
right.
They don't have 100 hours in a week every week to do this.
Yeah, it's impossible to scale that way, and I mean that's counterproductive and it's counterintuitive as business people as well. So you wanna give them, foster an environment where they can grow in their handmade businesses. And so that's where I think Etsy has come a long way. I think they've recognized that, and they've really worked on that. So I don't know. There's a couple of things for you. I'm sure there's more.
Now you had called your shops kind of a side hustle, which I like that word hustle, by the way. That's cool.
Yeah.
But in May of this year, you changed that side hustle to be a full-time hustle. Would that be accurate way of describing that?
Yeah. So it was really back in January. I really started to need to come up with a full-time income. And, I've been raising kids I feel really blessed. I've been able to stay home with my kids. My oldest is going to be 16 this year. So as I started getting back into the job market and I started entertaining, getting back into the job market, what I knew was, this. I knew entrepreneurship. I knew small business. I knew how to market and sell and produce. And so I just kept at it while I started trying to figure out, is there a way to take this and make it full time? I started doing some web design. I do web design as well, and some content and web copywriting on the side. But I just, so I really started trying to ramp up. And then it was really in May that I really felt like I've got to really figure this out. I got to sit down and, I could see the potential. I mean, I was doing consistent sales, and I wasn't putting really any effort or time into it at all in terms of, the listings were up. I was not spending much time in my shop. And so if I had consistent sales coming in, I knew that there was potential there. So as I really started doing some research and figuring out how do I really utilize all of the tools that Etsy has to offer to maximize my exposure in Etsy, somehow I stumbled across Marmalead. I'm thinking it must have been through Danielle with Merriweather Council. I think she's one person I follow. And anyway, however I found you guys, that was really the key for me when I realized that I could actually stop just guessing at how to title my my listings, and I could really do some research and apply some market data, and then measure my results. That was a turning moment for me. So yeah, somewhere in May there, I can even look at my sales and see. I'm not entirely sure when I signed up with y'all, but I can look, as a matter of fact, I have my chicken scratchings. I went through all the way back to May, and this is my high-tech, my high-tech way of tracking my sales.
I like it.
It's just, yeah. So I know Etsy gives us lots of great tools for that, but I prefer to make it harder on myself. But I can go and I can kind of see exactly where I'm that really must have been where we're from week 2 of May to week 3 of May. I tripled my revenue in 1 week.
Wow.
And then it's just steadily increased since. At this point, I'm up 7 times above what I was at the beginning of May in revenue.
Wow.
I kept watching, thinking this has got to, this is not going to last. And I do think August is going to slow down. I've been on Etsy long enough to know August, people go back to school. I don't know. There's many industries, unless you've got really unique back to school items, that you can really hold, stay strong in August, but it's a good reprieve usually anyway. But I know July was just a huge month. It was my biggest month ever. So, and that's not the case, I know, for a lot of people in July.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So yeah, Marmalead was really the turning point for me. Once I realized that, that it wasn't there, I think I just always envisioned Etsy SEO to be, it just sort of felt like if it was a science, it felt like a mad science. Like sometimes I just felt like they were trying to be cruel. And it was like, I know there has to be a way to figure out their systems, but I can't figure out what it is. And so, it just always felt like a Hail Mary, like just a shot in the dark. Like, I'll try this and see if it works. And I did the Google keyword research, and, there's something to be said for it for sure, because Google's going to tell you, you're going to learn about market trends when you do Google keyword, but really also going through y'all's tutorials and really realizing a part of it was a mental shift of realizing I'm not selling to Google. I had to stop creating listings for Google. I just told myself, stop. Like Google, if I list on Etsy and I happen to get Google traffic, that's great. But I just realized what I'm really focusing on right now is Etsy. I'm in Etsy, and that's what Etsy exists for, is Etsy customers. And so when I realized that, and just really started maximizing the potential there with keywords, and how to combine them and how to use, for me, I just, I use every single space available in the title description that I can. Yeah. And then, I started with a group of keywords, I focused on them. And one product I worked on for about the first 4 to 6 weeks, I really, I have about probably 5 or 6 different products in my store. So and each one, kind of has its own market. So for me, it was just about targeting the one and starting with one, and really I was just diligent. I was on Marmalead, 3 or 4 times a day, following my keywords and seeing how they were doing, and it just didn't take long. And then once those first products took off, I kind of moved on to other ones, and, slowly making the same headway, but still not having anything like the results I did, with the first ones. Because I put that much more time into them. And now I'm just so busy filling orders for those that I'm not able to do as much research on my other ones as I'd like to, but hopefully I'll get to that soon.
I like the way you approach that, where you're saying, I'm going to really drill into this handful of listings. I'm going to do those really well, right? And you saw that success, and now you're so busy with those that it's hard to go spend that much time with the other ones and update it. And that's a great problem to have.
Right.
One of the things I see a lot of sellers try to do is they try to tackle their entire shop. They try to tackle 200 listings at once, instead of trying things out and kind of doing the whole small batch thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I have to fight against that temptation all the time. It's not easy to, kind of cut those out, but you're going to drown if you do that. You're going to drive yourself out of business if you're not careful. So yeah. Right. It's
tough. I have those same sort of instincts, to just redo everything, right? If I'm going to redo this one thing, why do this little test? I want to just tear down the whole thing and rebuild it anew, right?
Right.
But that's typically not the best way to go.
No, yeah. You'll drive yourself crazy. So yeah, that would be my tip, especially starting with Marmalead. If you're starting an Etsy shop, or even if you're just trying to revamp your current one, or, like I was a few months ago, just really try to improve upon it. It's just really start, I think there's that phrase, it's just just start somewhere, and for me, that's just what it became about. Just start somewhere and kind of build from there. And then, the irony is I got the momentum so strong with those products that I started with that now I'm almost fighting against that to try, if I want to shift, as my inventory shifts, and I'm, now I'm kind of wait, how do I get you guys how do I take your attention from over here to over here? Because I did such a good job of focusing you guys over here. now I need to change your focus or turn your attention somehow. So yeah, and I can testify to once that momentum starts, I really do think Etsy kind of takes it from there. However, all of that works in its algorithm as you kind of prime it to recognize your keywords and recognize the success of those keywords. Like I see that happening, and I see that especially with specific listings that once they take off, Etsy just kind of keeps the momentum going. Mm-hmm. The hard work was on the front end, getting those keywords and then, measuring them, using Marmalead and kind of seeing babysitting, I like to say, because basically babysitting my listings to see that I was landing on, all the front pages. But then I feel like once I got that momentum going, they really stayed there. I didn't have to keep working so hard at it. And now I really more check in on them like once a week. So
mm-hmm. I think that's a really important point you bring up too, is that kind of that idea of babysitting. And you say even now you check on them once a week. Yeah. It's with SEO and these trends.
Babies.
That's right. I mean, yeah, you kind of have to keep an eye on them because things change. Things are always changing, and they're going to keep changing. And if you're not on top of what keywords are working and helping you out, and new ones that are showing up as different seasons change and all that sort of stuff too, it's mm-hmm. easy to fall behind on that sort of stuff too. So right. You can't like spin through everything and set it and then be like, okay, I'm done. And like right. you're saying, and then wash your hands
of it. Right.
Yeah, exactly. And to keep going back and keep tabs on your listings and see how you're doing with that. That's awesome. That's a really good point.
Right. Yeah. You can't ever completely let go of it or turn away from it. And it's an unrealistic expectation to think that you can, I think, and keep succeeding anyway. So.
Agreed. Yeah. Things keep changing. They change so fast, just in the marketplace in general, with global competition and everything. Mm-hmm. And the babysitting makes a ton of sense too. It's like, if you were to buy a magazine ad and you're like, I want to be on the inside cover, right? Like you would go check on that. You'd want to make sure that you're actually on the inside cover. And if you picked up an issue and all of a sudden you fell to the back pages, you wouldn't be like, oh, well, it happens.
Oh, well. It was a good run.
Right? You're like, I want to be right here, not back here in the little square.
Yeah, that's right.
But for some reason, everyone doesn't do that babysitting part. Like, okay, let's just make sure I'm on the first pages. Okay. And if I fall off the first page, let's get back up there because it makes a difference. And like you said, momentum. There's like an old sales type adage about, the best time to make a sale is right after you made a sale. You mm-hmm. got to keep that momentum going because, and I think that works in, person to person type sales and relationships because of course people have that type of confidence, but mm-hmm. also, I don't know, it's weird sometimes how you see people that don't otherwise have links online, or even like going to a store. You'll be like, you go to a store and you'll be like, why is it so busy at the grocery store in this totally off hour? And the person at the register will be like, I don't know what's going on. It's so busy here. Like we're not normally busy at this time. But people from just all over the place have all showed up at the same time. And there's not like an event that connects them. I think sometimes there's just, I don't know, there's a trend that people start following. Yeah. And if you have a product that's taken off, keep running with it because who knows what might be driving it.
Yeah, don't ask questions. Just take it and go with it. That's right. And the other thing that I think is so great about Marmalead too, and I'll say, when I think back to the dark ages of Etsy or whatever you want to call it, I couldn't find out. I had no way to know where I was landing in people's, searches. And so, I was just randomly renewing products. I didn't know if it was, doing anything or not, I couldn't. And I think you guys talk about, in your tutorials, maybe you can't really search Etsy incognito. It's pretty difficult, to search Etsy as, just an average seller and really know what their experience is going to be like. Mm-hmm. So with Marmalead, just being able to type it in and just know where you're landing in people's searches is invaluable for me anyway. So
that's awesome. I'm very glad.
Yeah.
So am I.
I would imagine.
Can you give us a little bit of a glimpse into what your process is? So let's say you have a product and you want to go through and freshen this product up and take a look at keywords and find out which ones you want to use. What are you actually doing when you go through that process with a product?
Oh, good question. So you're talking about with a product that maybe I already have?
Yeah, sure. Like when you started and you said, okay, I'm going to target, my SEO and however I want to do this, and I'm going to update these product lines, even if it's like photos and whatnot. What process or what steps do you take that product through when you're trying to get it up to speed?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was, first of all, it's always photography. I'm always revisiting my photos. Another thing, to go back to Marmalead, I mean, people are going to think soon that you guys are paying me, but you're not. But, for me, I like to be able to search my keywords, and then I can see, with my listings that pull up, I just like to see a good variety of photos, so if someone is searching the same keyword and I have multiple things pull up, I like to know that, there's some variation in the photos that are coming up and that they're kind of fresh. So I think it usually starts for me with, I have a vision for, where, like a really good photo, op, for the front cover, for the cover photo. I definitely go through and, I have done I do lots of updates and changes on my descriptions, because, as I use, I really listen carefully and pay attention to the questions that come in from my customers. If I start, noticing that people are kind of coming to me with the same questions, then usually that's a good sign to me. I need to go back to my listings and figure out if there's a way I could be communicating this better. So, I'll go back and make sure that my descriptions and everything are clear, hopefully. And then the keyword research, for me, I'll, for example, one of my bigger sellers is these, it's a tote bag. Bags are, an easy thing to sell, and they're a fun thing to sell. But there are so many different ways to list them. So for me, sometimes, it's something will just kind of pop in my head, like while I'm driving, like, man, I hadn't thought about, people who might use these bags for this kind of event. I don't know, like for yoga, for example, or a gym. It occurred to me one day, like, I don't have these listed as a gym bag, but I bet people search gym bags. And so then it was, I'm going to go to Marmalead and I'm going to start doing some research and think if I, try to figure out if I'm onto something there.
Yeah.
And then, so then that's where I kind of go and I try to figure out, and then I try to figure out too, like I have lots of different photos to choose from. I just have, a lot, I just do a lot of photography. So then I try to think too, like when I'm connecting it, I probably have 50 different listings on Etsy of the exact same product. Right. But I'll, based on what target keywords I'm trying to target, I might change the cover photo to be one that I think might resonate better, with someone who's searching for a gym bag versus someone searching for a beach bag or whatever. So I try to look for kind of the big picture and make sure that from the photos to the description, it kind of all captures the same mood. And then I work on my tags too, and I clean those up. But I'm not sure if that helps or not.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I like, and the photography thing too. Do you still do your own photography of all of your listings?
I do some of it. I do have help. I do have a young girl that works with me who's a photographer so sometimes when I have a vision for something, I'll kind of say, hey, I got these bags for you. Will you come pick them up and take them and, kind of run with it? And so, a few times a year, I'll kind of throw some stuff her way. And then in between, when I just have ideas and I just know I need to, I'm just eager, chomping at the bit to get it done, I'll do it myself. So we'll kind of go back. It's a mix of both.
Gotcha.
But yeah, photography is something, I had to learn over the years too. I started, I'm probably would be embarrassed by some of the first pictures I had posted on RBT bags with my little point and shoot camera. I have no idea, but it's definitely something I've learned enough to be able to, be dangerous, but, so that I can, I'm not too limited in waiting on someone else's schedule or, the money to pay someone else or that kind of thing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I love that you pointed out the context of like the photos. So when you're targeting something like gym bag, having a cover photo that makes them think gym bag, that's something that that I'm aware of for things like ads and landing pages and stuff like that. When someone searches something, like you want them to come across, you want them to see the thing they're searching for. So you search in gym bag, they expect to see gym bags. If you show them, context of a gym bag, they're gonna be like, oh, cool, like that's what I want. You show them, you search gym bag, and then you show them like a diaper bag, they're gonna be like, I'm a little confused.
Doesn't translate, right?
Yeah. I love that you mentioned it, because I don't think that's always like readily available in the mind. Like, yeah, okay, here's the bag, right? But putting it in that context, I always like to use like catalogs as an example of that, like hiking catalog, stuff like that, like Eddie Bauer. If you're flipping through those catalogs or online, they have all their stuff in a context. Like, they're not just selling you a backpack, they're selling you a backpack that you're going to use when you go out hiking, because the people who buy that backpack, that's what they do. So they're not thinking like, oh, a school backpack. They're thinking, no, I'm taking this to the woods.
Yep. Yeah, that really, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, it's about selling a lifestyle, really, as much as a product.
Yeah, so absolutely. I was going to say almost the same thing. It helps build desire, customer desire. When they see something like that, they can envision themselves doing that with it, right? They can see themselves using it that way. And I think it really helps to build desire of customers.
Right. Yeah, I try to do that. And I do see a difference. I see sometimes when I just have a keyword that's not working right, and you guys talk about this in your blog too. I know sometimes, it's like, well, maybe it's not the keyword. Maybe I can kind of tweak something that'll make a change. And sometimes something like a change in the cover photo will do it. And I can tell, pretty quickly. And it's the exact same bag, that's the crazy thing. It's the exact same bag. It's just on a person with brown hair instead of blonde. I don't know. She's in the woods instead of the beach. I don't know. I don't have that many to choose from, but yeah, selling a gym bag, that's sitting out on the beach it's gonna have a different effect than I don't know. So yeah, those are just things I think about when I go through.
I was going to work out, but now I just want to go on vacation.
Now I'm tired.
I'm just going to lay out.
I need a vacation instead.
That sounds nice. Sounds like a nice way to sell vacations. You start someone searches for like gym bag, and then you start showing a bunch of like beach photos and stuff like that. You click on that, and they're like, "Hey, how about buying a vacation?
How about a beach trip instead?"
And here's a beach towel for you.
Yeah.
Down a rabbit hole.
I like it. Well, that's the next wave. You're going to see travel agents on here now, and they're going to be selling. Selling bags that come with a vacation. So, like, why is this bag $2,000? Well, you buy the bag, and then you get this bonus vacation.
Exactly. I like it. I'm on board.
Yeah, we found a whole new market there, I think.
Coming soon, the Marmalead Travel Agency.
So, Rachel, jumping way back to the beginning of your story, can you talk a little bit about, when you sold your shop to your assistant? Was she familiar before she had worked with you? Did she have her own Etsy shop then, or how did that whole transaction even work out for you?
Yeah, no, I don't think. Yeah, she didn't. She had sewing experience. Everything I did in that initial shop was handmade. I don't hand make I personalize my own products, but I don't sew them anymore. And it was all sewn materials. And so it was kind of friends of friends who connected us early on. It's not that easy to find seamstresses, people who know that trade. So, and then it was just really kind of a good combination, I think, of her lifestyle. She was sort of transitioning into a stage, last year, and I was transitioning out of a stage, and she was kind of transitioning into a stage where her kids were getting more towards school age, and she wanted, she was kind of looking for a little bit more to do. And, we both knew she had the potential to make more money owning the business than she did still working with me. So yeah, I just kind of fell into place that way. But she had been working for me, with me in my shop for 6 years. So she certainly knew by the time, I sold it to her, she knew Etsy probably arguably better than me in some ways. So she definitely had experience going into that. She did not go in with without experience. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it sounds like it worked out really well for both of you then. That's pretty perfect.
I think so. I hope it did for her. She's still going. She actually still does my bookkeeping. She's got a lot of skill sets. So she's actually still doing my bookkeeping. So we keep up, and that's fun too.
Nice.
So I get to.
Speaking of like more to do, right?
Yeah.
Making the transition from side hustle to full-time hustle, you had a lot more to do at that too. And how did you kind of rebalance where your time was being dedicated between having 5 boys, which I'm sure is crazy time consuming, to being able to spend more time working on your Etsy shops?
Yeah, that's a good question. They're all school age, and that makes a huge difference. So I have my days, and they're also, all of an age where they're really independent. And so, I'm not changing diapers and doing, so there's flexibility in the evenings too. So I don't know. It's a tough one to answer because I'm not always sure I have that balance well. One of, I think the better things that happened for me was when I kind of, my house kind of outgrew it pretty quickly in terms of having the space for production. So I moved it into my parents' basement. And I think that's just been good for me, a good separation. Yeah. There's something to be said about when you're working out of the home and it's just so hard to get it out, to kind of clear your head of it. Yeah. It's always kind of lingering. And I think I would just be always working if it was in my house. But since it's not, it's good for me to have that sort of, I have set hours and I know when I'm going to be producing and I know when I'm not. And so so there's some good boundaries there. Yeah,
I like that. It kind of gives you a sense of like physical separation even, like as you're moving from one spot to the other, it's time to switch gears, switch everything over. So you're not at the risk of being distracted or something like that when you're actually trying to get some work done.
Yeah, and it's still tempting. I mean, because obviously there's still lots of stuff I can do on my computer in terms of, on Etsy. There's still plenty of work with customer service and following up with customers. And, I'm definitely guilty of the one who's like on her phone at the soccer games, like hoping my son's not looking when I'm quickly responding to an Etsy convo or, something along those lines. But the flexibility of it, it's, for me, it's sort of a balance. I balance it. I just kind of remind myself there are days that feel stressful and I feel like I'm not going to get it all done. And then I have to remind myself, like these are bags, like no one's life is on the line here. The worst thing that can happen is I lose a sale, and that would be unfortunate. But if it doesn't get done today, it just doesn't. And most of the time, when I run up against those situations, I reach out to the customer. If I'm, if something in my life is kind of caused me to, kind of get behind a little bit, then I reach out to them. And I mean, I don't think I've ever encountered, a customer that hasn't been very gracious. When I just tell them, at least give them advance notice. They can get a little impatient if their package is a week overdue and they haven't heard from you. But, so I feel like I work hard on my customer relationships that way. And I think it's good. Like, I think it helps them to see, like, I'm a real person. I care about my customers enough to make sure they know that some crazy things happened this week and I didn't get done what I had hoped to, but it'll get done, on Monday. And and for the most part that works well. But yeah, there's some discipline in it too. Like my kids have to know, even if I'm at home, I'm on my computer, I'm working. And you might have to kind of figure a few things out yourself. It's learning, I think small business is really, it's a family affair. No matter how you look at it, everybody makes some sacrifices and everybody has to learn some boundaries and adjust. And I've been known to pull my boys in on orders, pay them a good solid minimum wage to come help me get, crazy amount of bags out. And that's fun. I think it gives them some ownership of it too. And
yeah, definitely. It's not child labor when it's your children.
No, right. Thank you for pointing that out. I only pull in my legally employable kids.
And you give them, 15-minute breaks every 3 or 6 hours or whatever.
Right, absolutely. Hydration breaks and paid vacation.
That's good.
There's a really low age that you can employ, like your family members, your kids. Yeah. I don't know what it is. I don't remember what it is. Sure. I remember seeing it at one point, but it was really low, like 8 or something like that. I think it comes from probably like the agricultural roots, of the country and everything. Again, I think is where like summer breaks and stuff come from, is they have to take breaks so they can come out to the fields and help with the harvest and everything.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's right. Well, and I think it's fun to kind of bring them in on it and let them see like there's this world happening. Like they know I leave for work, but they don't always really know what that looks like. So it's fun to bring them in on that sometimes.
I think that's super valuable. And even to just know that, every job isn't going to an office and working somewhere from an office. People can do things for themselves too.
And it's fun. Some days we wake up, and especially, summer can be a little hectic when everyone's home from school. Obviously, we're trying to balance it all. And, there are some days we'll wake up and I'll say, if I get those orders out, by this time today, then we'll go do this, and then it's fun to be able to actually do that.
Yeah.
And for them to get to see the benefits and the rewards that come, from hard work. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it works, but it can be crazy sometimes.
I can imagine. We only have one son and he's like 9 months, so not even at the crazy age yet.
Yeah. I don't know about that. Yeah. Hold on to your seats. It's coming. It's all right. It's tons of fun. I love it.
Oh, cool.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well, Rachel, thank you so much for joining us today for Etsy Jam. It's been awesome chatting with you. Fantastic hearing your story too. I think that's really cool. And obviously wish you all of the best luck in the future in your future endeavors. Hopefully things keep rolling for you. And if you've been killing during the summer months, like you said, that's pretty fantastic. And I think it's only going to bring even better things for you when it gets closer to the holidays, when sales tend to spike.
Really kind of prepping myself already.
Yeah.
Should be hoping for some good sales this holiday season. I'm excited.
Christmas vacation, get the kids back to work a little bit.
That's right.
A little fulfillment.
That's right. Got to earn your Christmas presents this year.
Nice. I like it.
That's a really good idea.
I know.
Yeah, that's a great program to be on. I like this.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much
for your program and the hard work y'all put into it.
Thanks. Yeah, no, we really enjoy doing it. We love having people on too and hearing stories from people just like you. And even when we just kind of talk about random things, it's just kind of fun to have convos.
I agree. Skype more often or chat. Yeah, let's chat more often online.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
All right.
Well, thanks. And we will see everyone else next time on Etsy Jam.